Good morning, y'all, and welcome back to the channel. Welcome back, guys. So today we're going to talk about the landscaping trailer. That's right, my landscaping trailer. And if you've been here for a while, you saw when I got this and how I turned it into what it is today. And I even took you on a little journey of each individual step, but I kind of gave you a summary. There were summary type videos showing before and after and kind of a rough idea of what we did. But I didn't show you how exactly I did everything. And that is becoming a problem because apparently a lot of you guys are very interested in the lighting system I put on this trailer, and you want to know more. But before I tell you more, let's go check out the lighting system in case you've never seen it. Why, welcome to the inside of the trailer. And it's very dark in here. And this is why I decided to add lights. So, this is the inside of the trailer. As you can see, with the lights on, you can see everything. You can see all my work area. You can have lights everywhere in here. We even have fans. We have 12-volt fans. And we're powering all of this off of a DeWalt battery. So I just take my battery every morning and put it right there. And then whenever I need lights on, I just turn them on. Most of the time they're off. But when I need them, they're on. And when it gets a little hot in here, and I'm doing stuff up here, I turn my fans on. Well, several of you guys, a ton of you guys, send me emails, still almost daily to this day, how to make this. How did you make this? And I did a whole video showing how I installed these lights, made this box. But like I said, it was kind of a summary video. I didn't show you the steps. I briefly discussed what all this is in here, but I didn't show you how to do it. So today, I think I'm going to show you guys exactly how to take all these things right here, put them together, and make it work off a DeWalt battery and to power at least 3 different circuits off these 3 switches. Before we get started, let me walk you through what we have going on here. So right here on the side is the DeWalt battery. So you can see it comes right out. No, now you can't see. And it's back in. So it sits on the side of the box. Normally the box is closed. We have our 3 rocker switches. This one right here is for the workbench area. And this one right here is for the main trailer lights. And this one right here is for the fans. And when you open the box up, you have a lot of things going on in here, but they all serve a purpose. So, from the DeWalt battery, it comes in this first gland right here and goes to this terminal strip. From the terminal strip, it goes to this low voltage protection. And this is just a circuit here to kill the power from the battery if it goes below, I think, 16.5 volts, because you can ruin these little lithium batteries by running them down lower than that. So this right here is just to protect that battery. Right now it's showing the battery has 19.4 volts. It gets around 16.5, it's gonna kill the circuit from the battery, protecting the battery. Once the power goes through the low voltage protection, it goes back to the terminal strip, and then it goes to this right here. This is your converter. This goes from 20 volts to 12 volts. So we come in with 20, we go through the low voltage protection, we come into here and we leave with 12 volts. With our 12 volts, we feed our fuse panel. So now our fuse panel has a dedicated ground and a dedicated power, and it's a 12 volt supply. From here, we have a positive wire that goes to each one of the rocker switches, right? And then we have a positive wire that goes from the rocker switches when it's engaged to each one of the functions out here. And then up here we have all of our grounds. And when you put it all together, all this works exactly like it's supposed to. And now I'm going to show you how to take all these parts right here and make a box for yourself. Welcome to the shop where we are going to be doing most of our work today. So we have all the parts ordered up for our kit. First of all, the most important one, we have a junction box. This is what we're going to use to store all these components in a nice, neat area. This is our terminal strips. This is our fused outputs right here. These are our rocker switches. And then right here is our converter with our battery holder. This one happens to be red because this one I'm building right now is for a Milwaukee battery, not a DeWalt. But it's the same thing. You just order it based on what kind of battery you're using. So I'm going to show you how to use it with a Milwaukee, but the wiring is the same if it's a DeWalt. And then right here we have some cable glands, and then we have our low voltage protection, and we have this wire right here which is 16 gauge wire. Okay, before we start with any of the electrical stuff, the first thing we want to do is we want to go ahead and make all the cutouts and all the modifications to the box to hold all the components before we start putting the electrical stuff in. First things first, we need a place to mount the rocker switch on the outside of the box. First thing we're going to do, we have to get all these wires off because we don't need them. All right, now that the wires are gone, we need to get the rocker switches out of this little assembly, which is pretty easy. Just pushing these tabs right here on the corners, and you start to push it out. You're gonna have to do both one side at a time until you get it all the way out. Easier said than done. Now that the camera's on, it's literally impossible, but it's actually very, very easy. There you go. Totally easy and not complicated at all. It's actually very easy. You just push in these tabs right here and push it through. Oh, look at that. There's the trick. Double push with the thumbs. Look at that. It was way easier the third time I've done it. All right. Now we have the rocker switches out. This is our template. We want to make a hole for this right here to fit right here on the front of the box. All right, so we have our housing outlined for our rocker switches. Now we're going to take a drill and we're going to drill holes in each corner. That way we can get our jigsaw in there and cut out that square so that this, when assembled, can slide into the box. Now that we have our hole cut out, we're going to reassemble the rocker switches into the holder, and then we're going to install it on the door. We have our switches installed back on the faceplate, and now we're going to see if it fits in the hole. And there we go. Now we're going to get some screws and secure it to the front door of the junction box. Also, by the way, if y'all are wondering why these have labels on them, it's because I ordered the one, like the one in my trailer, with no labels, and this is what showed up. So I have a replacement coming, but for the building of this is just fine. It'll work for what I'm trying to show you guys, but just know you can order it with whatever you want. Like, I'm gonna link all this stuff in the description below, and this was my fault because I didn't pay attention to the check boxes and I ordered the one with labels already printed on them. You can do that, or you can get them blank and they come with stickers. You can add whatever you want, or you can be like me, leave them completely blank and you just get a blue light that lights up when they're active. We now have our rocker panel installed on the front of the junction box. Next up, we need to decide where to install the battery holder. And like mine, we installed it over here on the side. This is our converter. It basically takes the Milwaukee battery and gives power to the converter, turning it from, well, I guess these are 18 volts. Yeah, from 18 volts. Yeah, this is how much I don't know about Milwaukee because I have DeWalt stuff. So this is an 18 volt battery, so you have an input of 18 volts and an output of 12 volts. So we need to decide where to install this. But we don't need this hooked up like this because this is not the way we're gonna use it. So this is the first thing you have to do that's not part of the instructions. You see these two wires right here, right before this fuse? We're gonna cut them. Now we have our battery holder and we have our converter. They're now two separate systems because we have to wire it up where the low voltage protection is in between these two things. But that's for later. Don't worry about that now. Now we're just gonna focus on where to install this. So here's our box. And I want the battery to be over here on the side. So you can open the door, it's not in the way. The only thing you have to worry about is to make sure that you don't mount it in a way to where the battery is further this way than, say, the wall you're gonna mount it to, right? So you need to be about in the middle. But just make sure that you don't put it to where it sticks below the bottom of the box. And you don't put it up here to where it's gonna hit the door, but the lower you go, the more the door opens. So roughly in the middle works pretty good. Just make sure you have the right clearance. And now we have our battery holder mounted to the side of the box. The last thing we need to do is we need to make penetrations in the bottom of the junction box for all of our cable entries. So we need to get this cable inside the box, and then we need to get the cable for all these three functions out of the box and to the parts of the trailer they need to go to. So we're going to install 4 glands on the bottom of this box. Now, if you're creative enough and you want to make this box similar to what we're doing, but different, you can make changes. Like if you want to have 4 functions or 5 functions or 6 functions, they make different rocker switches for whatever you want to do. And however many switches you have is how many glands you'll have to have for all the functions you want to control. But for this one, we have 3 functions. We're going to have 4 cable entries. 1 for this, 3 for the field. All right, we're using the PG9 glands that come from that box of glands. And we're going to put them about like that. So I'm going to mark each one of these. We're going to drill a pilot hole, and then I'm going to use a step bit to drill it out to fit the threads of the gland. So we have our pilot holes drilled. Now we're going to drill them out. I called it a step bit. Technically it's called a unibit. But this right here, it drills it out until it's the exact circumference of that thread area and it slides in flush. Okay, so our construction part is done for the J-Box. We are ready to start working on the electrical side. So we have installed our rocker switches in the door, our battery holder on the side, and we've installed our 4 glands on the bottom. Now it's time to get this back plate set up for the junction box with all of our components on it. We're not going to do any wiring yet. We're just going to set up the system and get it laid out, and then we'll go through the wiring and how everything works. Before we start laying everything out, now is the time to take a little note or a photo of this nameplate right here. So this is your converter, and the input side is red for positive, black for negative, and the output side is yellow for positive and black for negative. So basically black is always negative and any other color is the positive. But you need to know that information when you get ready to wire it so that you make sure you put the input and the output and all the right wiring to the right location. So here is our junction box backplate with all of our components set up and spaced out perfectly. I know they're perfect because I already have a box inside that trailer that works just fine. So I cheated and just went and copied it. But this is the spacing for everything to work. And let me show you what it's going to look like when it's inside here. We're not going to put it in there yet because it's easier to work on the outside, but I want to give you the rundown of what exactly is going on. So we have our battery on the outside and we have our battery input wires. They're going to come down here, go in this first gland. Open up the box. They will come from this first gland to this terminal strip right here. From this terminal strip, because remember this is the incoming power from the battery, it'll go into the voltage in on the low voltage protection side. So positive negative will go right here to positive negative. When it's done with there, it leaves, and this is the voltage out from the low voltage protection. It'll come right here to terminal strip 3 and 4. On 3 and 4, we will take the input wires to the converter, the red and the black, and put them on this side. So now our 18 volts has come to this terminal strip, gone through the low voltage protection, back to the terminal strip, and now we have 18 volts entering the converter. The converter turns it into 12 volts, and it leaves on these 2 wires right here, which are the output wires, and it feeds our fuse panel with a positive and a negative 12 volt circuit. So that is the basic rundown of everything we're going to do. Now we have to start wiring. I do not have all the materials I need to complete the job this evening. The most important thing is I have this giant tub of heat shrink, and guess what size I don't have? The size I need for these connections I'm going to use. It's also getting very dark out, and I know that if it's getting hard to see in real life, it's probably not as clear on camera as I think it is. So on that note, I'm going to run to town and get the supplies I need, and I will continue wiring tomorrow when we have more daylight. See you guys tomorrow. And we are back. New day, and we have all the supplies we need to finish this wiring job. Now, before we get started, I'm just going to show you how to dress out and crimp and make the wire connection in case you don't know. Step 1, you have a wire, and this is the wire you're going to use. So I'm just going to show you how we dress these out, and it's very easy. You just take your wire strippers, just like that. Slide your heat shrink on the wire first. Then you take and put the fitting on the wire, and you see it overextends a little bit. So we're going to trim some of that. Now we're going to test fit it again. It's all good. It's right there at the edge. Then we're going to take our crimpers and we're going to crimp it. All right, now that it's crimped, we're gonna slide the heat shrink over, get our trusty DeWalt heat gun, and we'll shrink it down. And that is how you dress all your wires out whenever you're building this box. All right, step one, we're gonna leave the junction box backing plate out of the junction box because it makes all this easier. And we're gonna take the output from the converter and wire it into the fuse panel. So we have the yellow wire, which is the positive wire to the positive lug on the fuse panel, and the black wire, which is the negative wire to the negative lug on the fuse panel. All right, step two, we're going to take the input wires from the converter, the red and the black, and we're going to put them on the left side of the terminal strip in 3 and 4. So this is our positive and our negative to our input to our converter. All right, the next step is to take all of your ferrules and dump them out because you can't find them in the bucket. And then you go ahead and make the next connection, which is we're going to go from the low voltage protection output to the converter input. So this right here was the wires for the input side of the converter. Now we're going to take the positive and the negative and go to the output of the positive and the negative on the low voltage protection. This is the last step of the panel being outside the junction box. We went ahead and wired the voltage into the low voltage protection circuit to the terminal block. So positive, negative, positive, negative. And the remaining terminal strip comes from the battery right there. All right, so we've installed our backing plate into the junction box and we've ran our first connecting wires, which is from the battery holder into the first gland, and then we landed it right here on the terminal strip, positive and negative from the battery. Then positive and negative from the battery goes to the input side of the low voltage protection, positive, negative. Then the output side of the low voltage protection, positive, negative, goes to 3 and 4 of the terminal strip, positive, negative. Then we have positive, negative on the back side, and it goes to the input of the converter. And then we leave the converter and go up here to the fuse panel. So now all that is done, and the majority of the wiring is done. Now we need to run a positive output from the fuse panel to the rocker switches. We're finally done wiring. So we have wired outputs from our fuse panel 1, 2, and 3 right here to power our rocker switches. So now, essentially, when we put a battery in, there will be power on these switches ready to go to work in the field. Now for the moment of truth. We have our Milwaukee battery installed in the box. We have this LED light strip temporary wired up, negative right here, positive on the first rocker switch. Our low voltage protection is showing 20.2 volts in the battery, and here it goes. All right, that works. All right, let's check the other ones. All right, good to go. Let's check the last one. All right, so we know our system is working, but that's as far as we can go. And you're probably wondering, why are you building this box and not finishing it? Well, it's because I'm not building this box for me. I'm building this box for one of the viewers out there who wanted me to build a box just for them. I said I could tell you how to do it, but they said we'd rather you build it for us. So this is me building it for them and anybody else who wants to do it themselves. So now once they receive the box, right, so I have it temporarily wired up, we have these 3 spaces right here which go to the field for these 3 switches. So once they get it and install this box in their trailer, they will have their lights in the trailer and they will run their circuits through these glands right here. And you will land your negative right here on the fuse panel, and you will land the positive right here on this one, which will activate power to the lights whenever you activate the switch. So there it is, guys. There is the box in all its glory. I actually am waiting for the new ones to show up tomorrow that don't have the labeling on them. But essentially, this box is done, and by the time you see this, well, he'll probably already have the box, and if not, it's on the way. So anyway, guys, that right there is how you build your very own box to power any kind of 12-volt circuit you want off of a DeWalt Milwaukee. They even make Ryobi. Any kind of lithium-ion power tool battery, they make a kit where you can use that battery's power, convert to 12 volts, and use it to run all kinds of things you want. Now, this is for lights and fans. but you could essentially run anything that's a 12 volt supply. And then with this low voltage protection right here, you know that whenever the battery gets to a low level, which I think is around 16.5 volts, it's going to kill the battery to protect the battery from fully discharging. So if you have any questions after seeing this video and you need some help, feel free to email me or make a comment and I will try to help you out. And if you were like the viewer I built this for and you just want me to build you one, you can reach out to me for that as well, and we will gladly build you one and get you one sent your way. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. We love you, and we'll see you in the next one.